what we're going to do here today is we want to focus on helping you thrive, right? So we want to recognize that one thing that we did recognize is that there's no way to truly measure your business. So what we're going to focus on here today is the 5 stages of hosting, right? This is our way of understanding where in the hosting journey are you? How do we measure your success? And then how do we narrow down where to put your focus throughout the day so we can start moving you up through the stages, all right? So if you guys are ready, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to dive into this right now and introduce the 5 stages of hosting, all right? One thing I do want you to do, I have 2 action items for you. As we go through this, okay, as we go through the 5 stages of hosting, I want you to do 2 things. One is if you identify with one of these stages, or possibly even 2 of these stages, you could be in between stages as well. If you identify with this, just drop me a comment in the chat and let me know which stage you're at right now. Then number 2 is I want you to identify where you want to go during this. Okay, this is going to make sense as I go through these stages, but the 2 things I want you to do is let us know where you're at now and what your goal is to get to the next stage. All right, so let's dive into it. So the first stage of hosting, okay, is what we like to call the side hustle host. The side hustle host is really pretty much where all of us got started in this space. I was the side hustle host. I was all 5 of these stages, but I started here. The side hustle host is where you get started in the space. You have 1 listing, maybe 2 listings. You're making some money on the Airbnb platform. You're having some fun hosting this. You love the idea of having more listings, and you're really bullish about the possibilities, right? You're just excited about what short-term rentals and Airbnb can bring you in your life, right? But there's some challenges that come along with this stage. There's challenges in every stage, but this one in particular, the biggest challenge that we see is that there's no real vision behind your business model, right? So the biggest challenge that we see with side hustle host is that they just jump on any opportunity that comes across, right? They find a listing, they put it up on Airbnb, they start making money, but there's no focus on what we're building. Are we doing management? Are we doing leasing? Are we doing buying, right? The other challenge with this stage here is we suffer from the shiny object syndrome. What that means is what we saw a lot in 2020 is that the side hustle hosts were jumping between different business opportunities. You're not fully committed to the hospitality industry, the short-term rental industry, but you like the idea of potentially making money. But if another opportunity comes along, you're going to jump on that, right? Does that make sense, guys? Do you guys see that? Do you recognize or do you relate to that? Let me know in the chat. The reason why this is important to understand the pros and cons of the stage that you're in, stage 1, is to understand the bottlenecks that you're running into so we can solve those so we can move you to the next level. Okay. So level 1, stage 1 of hosting is the side hustle host. Okay. Nothing wrong with this. But again, if you're focused on building a hospitality brand, we got to move you out of this stage so we can now start developing the brand. We can start developing the business model. Okay. So second stage. By the way, if you guys recognize or identify with stage 1, just drop us a comment here. Traditional host, stage 2. Okay, what I want you guys to think about is Airbnb's traditional vision of a host, right? This is someone that has 1 unit, could be a vacation home, it could be a bedroom, it could be a spare, guest house, whatever that is. This is the ideal vision of an Airbnb host. Okay, when the founders created Airbnb, what they developed it into, this is who they were thinking about. Somebody who absolutely loves hospitality. They do a great job at hosting. They do a great job at creating experiences for their guests. They love the industry. They love the whole hospitality experience. They put their entire identity into the listing and is part of every step, A to Z, of the hosting experience, right? We know those people, we've met those people. They do an incredible job for our industry, right? But the challenge here is what they run into is that they don't have a real business. They have a second side hustle here that is focused on just running 1 unit, right? There's no real system. So they're really caught up in the weeds of their business, right? They're responsible for the cleaning. They're responsible for the communication. They're responsible for literally everything. They have little vision on how to really dial in the business model, if you will, right? And then what they're doing, how they're approaching this, there's no real scale, right? So again, not a big problem if you're in this stage. The thing is, if we're focused on growing a hospitality brand, we got to get you out of stage 2 and really figuring out what do we got to put in place to get you to the next level. Does that make sense, guys? Awesome. If you guys are following, just give me thumbs up, keep dropping me comments. We're reading all of these. So if you have any questions, pop them in here and we'll go through it a bit later. Now, let's move on to stage 3. Stage 3 is, in my opinion, one of the most common stages. This is if you're running full-time short-term rental business, most likely you're at this stage or you're breaking through this stage. This is where we see most people that come to us are at this stage looking for help, right? They have a full-time business. They're hosting full-time. They're so good at what they do in their marketplace that they're expanding by word of mouth. There's no real marketing in place, but they're able to scale just through conversation with people in the marketplace, right? They love the idea of growing a short-term rental business. They even think that they have a short-term rental business, right? And they're focused on that. Their business, their properties, they're all part of their community and they're part of the hospitality industry, right? So this is us. I was at the stage 3 for nearly 3 to 4 years as I was running my company, right? And the reason why I feel a lot of people are here is we say yes to every opportunity, right? So as we start growing our business, we like the opportunity of growing. So we just say yes to any listing that comes across. We work with pretty much anybody. There's no real marketplace to where we're going to. We just kind of take on properties anywhere, right? We're freaking control freaks at the end of the day, right? We can't let go of how we operate our business, right? We can't let go of the cleaning inspections. We can't let go of the way that we create these experiences because we are the only ones that know how to do it. We're the ones who do it best, right? That's our mindset around it. What we do is not scalable. What we do is there's no real systems around this. We want to go from working on our business, but we're so stuck in our business that we have no idea how to get out of it, right? That was me for nearly 3 to 4 years in my business. Right. What I found was we scaled at this point, we scaled to about 96 units at one point between managing and master leasing. Right. So we had a lot of units. We were making quite a bit of money. We had a growing team, but I was so lost in the details of my business that I didn't realize that we weren't actually making money. We weren't actually making a profit. We were making high revenue, high bookings, but at the end of the day, there was no real profit. I was working 7 days a week. I had 0 off time. I had no freedom in my life. I had no lifestyle. I literally built this business, the short-term rental business, and got into hosting because I wanted a lifestyle. I wanted to be like Jasper Rivers and travel the world and live off of my Airbnb income, right? Didn't happen. I got so lost in dealing with all the details that I realized that, man, I created myself 2 jobs, right? And then I would look at my accounting. I'm like, okay, I need a bookkeeping system. I'm like, oh man, I don't even know where to start here. If I start this, I have 100 different steps. Oh man, I got a cleaning system here I got to develop. My cleaners keep dropping the ball. I keep having to refund money, all this stuff. Well, if I start here, I got to do all these things. Oh man, now my owners that I manage for are constantly reaching out to me, constantly texting me. There was messes and fires everywhere, right? So I was completely hectic. This is why we called it the hectic host, right? Now, if you guys are recognizing this, if you're in this position, give me a thumbs up or just drop me a comment. I'm really curious to see if you identify with this. Even though we were doing really well with our company, we're running into so many problems that we were willing to leave. We wanted to get out of the industry. I was like, I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. There's no lifestyle here. There's more of a job than there is anything else that I actually built this company for, right? So I started asking myself, how do I get out of this position? What is next, right? So I went from the side hustle, became the traditional host where my identity was part of my first listing. I loved the hosting experience. I loved the entire Airbnb concept, the company, everything that Airbnb brings, right? Then I moved into the hectic host where I just started saying yes to everybody. Yeah, I'll host your property. Yes, I'll co-host. Oh, maybe I'll buy this house. Maybe I'll lease this house. And before I know it, I have all these properties all over the place. We're based here in San Diego. And I found myself managing 9 properties in Mexico, properties in Colorado, 1 in Canada, 1 in Jersey, all over the place. It made no sense, right? And so I started asking myself, what is the next level? How do I actually scale into a scalable short-term rental brand, right? So this is what we started realizing is once we went through this, we moved from stage 3 to stage 4, which is the rising star. Okay, this is who we love to call the rising star. We recognize is once you get through a period where you're going through the hectic host, you have 2 options. You have option A is to continue to go down the path that got you there, that you're running your business now, that hectic position. And there's only a couple of things that are going to happen if you keep going down that path. You're going to burn out, or you're going to burn out, or you're just going to continue to run a messy company. Or 2, we're going to start focusing on some systems. We're going to start focusing on the vision of our brand. We're going to start focusing on taking on profitable units versus just saying yes to anything, right? So what we've recognized as stage 4 is the rising star. You've scaled above 25 units. The units don't really matter, but this is where the measuring point is where we see is the most common, right? So you scaled above 25 units and you have some operations in place. You're dialing in some systems, and now you're finally starting to let go of some control and hire some people for your team, right? And you're getting clear on what it is that you're actually building. Okay, this is where the clarity is so important for your business. Okay, now what this stage brings are some very simple challenges, right? Your business still relies on you. Okay, so you're starting to buy back your time and you're starting to get yourself out of the business, but you're still in the business. It still relies on you at the end of the day, right? So a good friend of mine asked me, he said, what's your definition of success for a company? What is it? What's the definition of success? And I'm like, oh, if I have all these units, if I'm making all this money and we have properties all over the place. He said his definition of success is being able to take off 2 weeks and go on vacation and have his business completely run by itself. 2 weeks. I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, I haven't taken 2 weeks off completely in the last 7 years. I haven't done that in a very long time because my business wasn't set up to do that. It still relied on me at the end of the day to deal with cleaners, deal with customer service, deal with marketing, deal with new onboarding properties, all this stuff. I had this vision of growing this huge brand, and I thought we were doing something really, really good in the way that we were building our business, but we were so lost in all the details that even at this stage, at stage 4, we couldn't walk away from our business for 2 weeks, right? So I started asking myself, I'm like, how do I do that? How do I get to a position where I can walk away from my company for 2 weeks, have everything run by itself on the systems, on the processes, on the people that I bring into this company, and be able to live the lifestyle that I dreamt of, that I wanted to build for myself? And what do we got to do to solve that? So we recognize that there's a handful of challenges that we have to solve. So getting ourselves out of the business, focusing on more profitability, and then lastly, we started recognizing that we were growing faster than our systems can handle and our people can handle. So we started attacking those. This moved us into stage 5. Stage 5 is what we call the legend, short-term rental legend. Okay. We've been working with these companies at legend status for the last 2.5 years now. These are companies that we recognize that are doing above $1 million or more on Airbnb. That's not a hard thing to do nowadays. But we recognize that right around $1 million brings you to about 30 units in most places around the world. But here at this stage, we actually have a clear vision for our hospitality brand. We are clear on who we serve, why we serve them, and how we serve them. We're tied into our community. We have a recognizable brand, and we're very clear on what properties we go after, right? We're scaling at a profitable pace. What I was doing the problem I ran into in my business is that I was saying yes to everything. So I was scaling. Yes, I was scaling units, but they weren't profitable units. I wasn't actually making a profit at the end of the day, right? So I brought on all this stress, but not making any money, and it stole more of my time. Most of the companies that went out of business in 2020, especially the bigger ones, some of the biggest companies went out of business that had hundreds and hundreds of listings, raised hundreds of millions of dollars from investors, and had properties all around the world, and still went out of business. And it's because they were scaling. They weren't scaling at a profitable pace. They were just scaling unit numbers. That makes sense, guys? Now, this stage is where we finally moved from working in the business to working on the business. So we finally got back our time to where myself, as CEO of the company, was able to steer the ship. I'm able to make decisions that move the company forward and working with the right properties and the right property owners that I wanted to work with, right? So this stage, of course, this stage brings challenges. Every stage brings challenges. Every business brings challenges and bottlenecks, right? But this stage, what we started recognizing is now that I was able to pull myself out of it, I had to start focusing on how do I find the right people for the right seats? Right? Not just hiring anybody. We stopped hiring generalists. We went from the cleaners that could just clean any type of property to the short-term rental expert cleaners who understand our technology, understand our demands, and understand our standards. So we started focusing on that with our business. We started focusing on bringing on the right co-hosts to help us manage our units and our owners. We started controlling our opportunities. Right. So as opportunities came in, we start saying no a lot more, which is a highly, highly powerful skill set to develop in everybody, especially regardless of your stage, especially in the early stages of your hosting journey, is saying no to properties that are coming across your desk that don't fit your vision. Right. We had to stay on course. Once you get to a certain level, the amount of opportunities really freaking open up from, especially in this industry, not only managing units, but acquiring properties, taking over hotels, taking over other management companies. There's a lot of distractions that come in. So we have to control the way that we stay on course. We have to develop our brand, our vision of what we're going after, and say no to everything else around us, right? It's the biggest challenge around us. Now, this is the stage that we started recognizing that it is the most important stage to focus on how do we acquire our guests, and then how do we manage those guests, right? We thought it was stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it's really this stage. So this is my question for you guys. One is, I want you guys to drop a comment right now. Let me know. I'm going to pull up the chat here. Let me know what stages. By the way, drop when you're sending a message here. 1 second. Everyone in meeting. Cool. Let me know what stage you guys recognize or align with. I'm really curious to see where you guys fall on this spectrum. I want to see who's in this room and how we can support you, because I'll shift the conversation based on who's in here. So drop us some comments. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. So we got stage 2, 3, 1. Awesome. Stage 3, stage 1, stage 4, stage 4. Awesome. 4.5. I love it. Solid 3, 3, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. Hey, Mike, what's up, buddy? Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys. So let me walk you through this. My question for you is, what did you notice through this process? The biggest thing that you should have picked up is that they all have the same challenges. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we all have the same challenges, but we're dealing with them at different times and different stages. And what that means is the 3 most common challenges that we're running into, regardless of the stage, for every single host, is an unclear vision. You don't have a vision for your company. You don't have a vision of the properties that you take on. You don't have a vision of where you take them on, what what guests you're going after, and who, as a host, you want to be, right? So we got to get really, really clear on the vision of your company. Number 2 is you have either broken or no systems in your business, right? The reason why companies that we look up to that we're just admired by, like Tesla and Amazon and of course McDonald's and all these big companies that have been able to do something that most companies have never been able to do and scale and be known everywhere on the globe is through their vision. They're clear on who they serve, how they serve them, why they serve them. You have their clear brands. Then they have world-class systems in their company. I mean, world-class. We study here at the team, we study these companies. We try to look at like, man, if I had to step in and run Amazon, how do we develop the systems and how do we maintain the systems of this company, right? We as hosts now, as we go through the stage, we got to start focusing on what systems do we need in place to clear up the bottlenecks for us to move on to the next stage so we can get our time back. We can start working on the company versus in it. We can start making more money and we have more time to think. We have more time to do the things that we actually want to do, right? It all comes from systems, right? Now, the third challenge that we see over and over is fractured scale. And what that means is we not only have we're missing the vision, we're missing the systems, but when it comes to scale, we're not focused on profitable units. We're just saying yes to every short-term rental that comes across our desk, right? We're not focused on, hey, we're a management company and this is what we do. So I'm going to manage your Airbnbs. These are the owners I work with and these are the properties I work with. We, at these stages and the challenges that we run into is that we focus on just saying yes to everything. So my challenge to you guys and what you're going to learn more of tomorrow, specifically tomorrow, is how to go through the VOS system, what we call the VOS system, vision, operations, scale, and why every single host, regardless of stage, should implement this into their business to build more profitable and scalable short-term rental brands, okay? Now, this is something that we recognize that most hosts waste their time on. They believe that these are their top challenges in their business. Right away, I was talking to a host just the other day that has 2 listings. They have 2 listings, one in their backyard. It was like a guest house, and then their neighbor's house. They're running it as a short-term rental. She wasted so much time on our discovery call, our coaching call, about why she should be on every single platform, Booking.com, VRBO. She should build her own direct booking website, all these things focused on how do I get more people to book. But I was looking at her listings and her listings were a mess. She had no systems. Her properties were dirty. Her cleaners were quitting all the time. She was managing customer service through her phone. She was focusing on the wrong thing. She was thinking that we at stage 1, 2, or 3, or even 4 need to be anywhere and everywhere. And to me, I think that's a misguided truth in this industry, that we have to have our listings everywhere. I don't believe that. I believe that we have to choose one model and prove that model within our business and dominate it in our marketplace. And what we do with our properties and what we're going to be doing with our new brand that we launch at the end of this year is focusing on 2 things: dominating Airbnb, because I don't care what anybody says, Airbnb is still the king in our space when it comes to acquiring guests and marketing our properties. And 2 is controlling our guest communication afterwards to rebook. Okay. And we're going to talk more about that tomorrow. Julie's going to go into some marketing tips around that. Another challenge that we see that a lot of hosts in stages 1, 2, 3, and 4 waste a lot of time is dealing with reactive tasks. As I mentioned, this host spends so much time dealing with cleaning issues and customer service issues and thinking about being in all these other places that her systems and everything were a complete mess. We just take too much on and we make it way too complicated, right? We make it way too complicated. So our goal here over the next couple of days here is really to support you guys on building a hospitality brand. Okay. We believe that in this space and in 2021 and moving forward, that the most valuable thing we can do in the short-term rental space is building a hospitality brand that is scalable, that's built around vision, built around scale, systems, and built with the right people. because that's where our equity is at the end of the day. It's not in the listings. It's not in the Airbnb profile. Your hospitality brand is your equity. It's your IP. It's the value that all of us are putting into this.